What's up, y'all? It's your boy Vinny Dangerous, and I'm back with another installment of Dangerous Minds. I appreciate you tuning in. Huge shout out to my guest from last week, Innocence, for joining me on the show. I'm definitely going to be trying to get, some more people on the show. If you liked that episode, if you haven't seen that episode, please subscribe to the channel. Check out that episode and more, and definitely tune in as we try to do this each and every other week. We try to do this each and every Sunday, so I'd appreciate you, really appreciate it if you like, share, and subscribe to the video so we can keep these moving. Also, I didn't get to mention this last week during the episode with Innocence, but Innocence and myself, and along with some other artists right here in the area, we'll be doing a showcase May 20th. It'll be held at the Shed here in Durham, and it's called Hip Hop Against Lupus. It's to coincide with Lupus Awareness Month. And we are planning on donating 40% of the proceeds to the Lupus Foundation of North Carolina chapter. It's a great cause. I promise you it's going to be a really dope show. If you want more information about it, you can go to my Facebook fan page, the Vinny Dangerous fan page, or you can go to my website at www.vinnydangerous.com. I'll have more information about that, and I'll leave the links in the description as well of this video. So, just a couple plugs right there. And definitely check out Innocent's video, Hey, Hey, Hey. It was in the link of the last video that we did called Great Raps, Great Responsibilities. And yeah, just check out more of the content. Really enjoyed those brothers on the show. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's topic. And today's topic is about those unsung influences. Now, and it's actually about one in particular, just, to make sure I make that clear. So we all have influences as artists. Well, as just people in general, we have those people that have inspired us in life to want to do what we want to do. And as an artist, a lot of hip hop artists, we share a lot of the same influences. We have, guys like Jay-Z, Tupac, Nas, Outkast, Kanye West. Even some people today might even say J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar. Those are guys that you just hear a lot. You hear those names come up a lot because they've had a lot of success. They've made a lot of prominent music that is still celebrated today, even if it was released 20, 30 years ago. Those names are going to come up in conversation a lot when you talk about people that have influenced your career. But what about those people that you don't really hear their name enough? And I feel that should be recognized enough because their influences are still present in today's music a lot more than people want to give recognition. And then for whatever reason, these people have been discredited from getting the just due that they deserve. Like another example, not the main topic that I'm talking about today, but another example for an influencer for me would be Joe Budden. Now, his new music mixtapes are some of the most underrated full-length hip-hop projects to ever come out in the last 10 years. From the 2000s to now, those are some of the most underrated and under the radar type of mixtapes that I feel like played a big part in a lot of artists today, especially one of the biggest artists out right now, Drake, because he was so vulnerable, he was so stripped back, he wasn't afraid to just let it all out on the table without without trying to make himself look good or trying to protect his image or anything. He just let it all out on the table, which worked and also worked against him because, it landed him in a lot of other drama and stuff. And I think that's one of the reasons why he is discredited. But I feel like that's, especially, I can speak for me personally, he's a big influence on my career and a big influence on a lot of other people if they, do not realize it. But this one person in particular, I feel like not only had a big influence on me and my production style, and even a little bit how I write songs, and a lot of people's songwriting and production and just performances, a lot of things that this guy has done, not just introducing auto-tune into the mainstream, but other things as well. And I feel like he deserves a little bit more credit. Who I'm talking about is T-Pain from Tallahassee, Florida. Now, for those who don't know, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a background on him. T-Pain, from Tallahassee, Florida, like I mentioned. That's where the T in T-Pain comes from. And the pain is just to describe his struggle, his hardships just to get to where he is. He is a 2-time Grammy winner with 4 studio albums, 3 of which have reached at least gold status. And he was real big in hip hop and R&B and even some forms of pop between 2009 and maybe like 2011, 2012ish. I'm really just speaking off of my personal knowledge off this guy. I didn't really do a lot of research, but I could say that I know a lot because I've watched documentaries with this guy. He released 2 years ago this track called Stoicville, a phenomenal track. Like, if you really don't think this guy is more than just, if you think this guy is he's a guy that just uses autotune to get over, he's not really talented, listen to that and go watch his Tiny Desk concert, which was dope as well. He's singing the entire thing, doing like, I guess you could say acoustic versions of his, some of his hits like Buy You a Drink and I'm in Love with a Stripper. It's really dope. It's really dope. Like, y'all should definitely check it out. But I can say personally, he was a big influence on my career. From his first album, Rapper Turned Singer, Epiphany, 3 Rings, and even a little bit of the last one he put out, Revolver, which I wasn't really that big of a fan of that album. But there were some songs and some elements that I take and I am personally influenced today. And it's just, not just the autotune. I mentioned the autotune before, but the autotune is just a small percentage of what he contributes to the game. People still use it today. Would there be a future without a T-Pain? I don't think nobody really wants to answer that and answer that truthfully. But I do not believe when T-Pain had a problem with Future using it and not giving him the credit, in a way I felt like maybe he went about it the wrong way. But I do not deny that there was a lot of truth in that argument that he had. Just go back and watch some of those interviews and see T-Pain's side of the story, and I bet you'll have a different opinion on it versus how the media tried to paint it. They tried to paint him as a bitter has-been that just couldn't let go, and then now somebody else is, coming up with what he brought to the table, and now he's upset. But I feel like there was a lot of truth and a lot of merit in his argument, and that he should be getting the credit, and not just with Future, but with guys like Chris Brown. Chris Brown's entire career, to me, changed, and his sound that he's adopted to this point is so indicative to that one collaboration that T-Pain and him did back in like 2007 when they did the song Kiss Kiss. Like, before that, Chris Brown was a real squeaky clean, kind of a pop R&B type of singer, smiling, dancing. The dancing was got him over, but I think his staying power, the thing that I honestly could say that helped him over the hurdle, that was the Rihanna and scandal, with the Rihanna, like the abusive, the domestic violence scandal, was the fact that he adopted this sound that was present in T-Pain's music that they did on the collaboration of Kiss Kiss, that gave him his longevity, that I still hear little influences of it today. Just the fact that that was the first time that Chris Brown really started to show his rapper skills when he was working with T-Pain. And there's other artists like Kanye West, who T-Pain directly influenced the creation of 808s and Heartbreaks. He's talked about it in a Vlad TV interview, and when you go back and listen to that album, and then you listen to the production on the album, and then you go back and listen to Rapper Turned Singer, you really can't deny the apparent influences that had. And of course, we know about Lil Wayne's influences when he took the auto-tune and he actually went to T-Pain and got help on how to use it properly, and he started incorporating it into his music during that 4 or 5 year stretch where he was putting out some of his best music, through the mixtapes and like on his albums like Carter 3 and like Carter 2 and Carter 3, not really Carter 2, but Carter 3, and he, was just running the game. Part of that was how well Lil Wayne used the auto-tune method and made it into something that was incorporated in his voice with the right way. Other artists that came in and took that once it got popularized through Kanye, Lil Wayne, and T-Pain, like, they took it and ran with it, but nobody had it fine-tuned and had it incorporated with their voice as well as T-Pain and everybody that he helped, perfected. He's not just a guy that grabbed it and said that he wanted to make his voice sound better. He used it as a tool to get over, which is something that if you have the means to do it, everybody should do it. It's, it does become a novelty, but your real artistry shines through it to make it more than just a sideshow. Now, also talked about songwriting and production. I watched his behind the music before I started talking about this. And one of the things that Akon was real adamant about, and what attracted him to signing T-Pain and working with him, was the fact that he was an artist that was not afraid to be honest. I feel like, just like I said with the Joe Budden comparison, T-Pain was real honest. He talked about stuff that a lot of people before him would have been ashamed about. The strippers were vaguely mentioned, but nobody gave them as much love as they do now before T-Pain came into the picture with his song, I Fell in Love with a Stripper. And a lot of people, looked at that song and thought it was corny, thought it was cheesy, but it got over. It was dope. People loved it. And then now all of a sudden that became such the thing to talk about that is still talked about today. And just other things about him being able to be honest and talk about himself, but in a way that it doesn't really still paint you in like this most, heroic light. Like you're completely stripped down, you're vulnerable, you're to your worst, and he's willing to expose that without his chains on, so to speak. And I could personally say that, it was on the production side, he influences me. You could go back to those albums, his very first album. You don't hear those sounds, those synths. You don't hear those drums, those percussions, those incorporations of different genres without it sounding like these other genres. They fit naturally together. You don't hear them present in anybody else's music before T-Pain. And you have to give him that credit. You hear it in R&B today. You hear it in the song Planes with Jeremiah. I feel like a lot of it comes from certain elements that T-Pain put together in his production. And I feel like this man is a genius. He's still passionate. You can tell that it's not just about the money. It's passionate, even with the music he puts out now, to his tours, the documentaries, he puts everything in his performances. It's something that I've paid attention to. A lot of people recognize. And I feel like this guy needs to get a little bit more credit than he deserves. But I'm running out of time, so I can go on and on about this guy. But I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Like I said, like, share, and subscribe to the video. Follow me on Instagram at Dangerous Minds Podcast. And I'll be with you not next week, but the week after with another installment of Dangerous Minds. I've been Vinny Dangerous, and I'll see you again next time. Now I need you to do one thing for me. Just one thing. I need you to understand that you'll never understand. Huh.